time in Ukraine right now. Can you tell our viewers what you've seen and what you've heard for the last several hours?
So, I want to start maybe just slightly before that. I was interviewing a lot of local people, and they were essentially telling me that they felt like the Western media was blowing this out of proportion. A lot of them held this undying confidence that Russia was not going to invade up until the very last moment, actually 2 hours before the bombing occurred last night. Unfortunately, there started to be some explosions. There was a bombing in the airport, and I climbed up to a big mountain, like a big hill near where my hotel was, with a couple of my friends, and we heard what was about 8 or 9 other explosions.
Tell us what you do for a living. You're originally from Regina, born and raised, but you've traveled the world.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan, in the Douglas Park area, and I think maybe something to do with being from such a cold place in the middle of nowhere, I think that kind of influenced me to have a thirst to explore. But I was always into adventure. So when I was 23, I saved up with a girlfriend of mine at the time. We went to Europe. And there was one night I had this moment where I realized I love traveling. This is what I want to do. So I built a life around it. Since then, I've been to 34 countries, and I've spent about 5 of the last 6 years traveling.
Okay, you come to Vancouver. You're always welcome.
So what is your connection to Ukraine, and what brought you to Ukraine?
So, to begin, my connection with Ukraine is that, like many people in the prairies, actually Canada has 1.3 million Ukrainian people, roughly speaking, and it has the largest population of Ukrainians outside of Russia and the Ukraine. A lot of cabbage rolls, pierogies, a lot of these traditional foods that we eat, they're Ukrainian foods, and they're not. I didn't even learn that wasn't normal until I went to US, that people don't just eat them all the time. Now, I'm in Ukraine because I've been traveling a long time, and it's one of the last European countries to visit on my trip around the world.
How's communication been with your friends and family through all of this, and how are you feeling through all this?
Well, my communication with my family, it's been strong in the sense that they're very concerned about me. And obviously, nobody wants their 28-year-old son to tell your family that you're deciding to intentionally stay in a war-torn situation to provide media coverage and essentially put yourself in danger to tell this story to the world. So the reaction of my friends and a lot of my family is get out. Now today, I have a lot of people, they're like, are you kidding me? Get out, what are you doing? And it's actually impossible right now. The airport's closed, all the buses are full, all the trains are full. So I would have to somehow find an automobile or some kind of means of transportation in that regard. But right now, leaving Ukraine is becoming excessively more difficult. And it is very likely that me and my friends here will be trapped for the next 2 months, possibly more. It's the prediction of some of the journalists that I'm working with.
And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How long are you planning on staying, and are you worried about having to stay?
Well, at the end of the day, how long I could stay is not really up to me. But am I worried? 100%. The majority of the work I've done is in working with commercial settings, maybe doing some wedding style stuff, these kind of quite a safe job to hold a camera and shoot music videos for people in Canada. And now here I am doing international coverage for a war in Ukraine with Russia. I never thought my life would lead me to this point. However, now that I'm here, I feel like I do have a definite purpose to serve both my ancestors and just the people of the world. This is what I do. I travel, and I've been working up to this my whole life. And so I feel like this is my duty to stay, and I will stay for as long as I feel comfortable enough to.
And you've had a chance to speak to people from Ukraine. You have a YouTube channel. Can you tell us about that and what you've been hearing from Ukrainians when you've been interviewing them?
So it's really interesting to me because I've been asking a lot of Ukrainian people the same kind of questions, and I'm getting a lot of the same responses. So the question that I ask these Ukrainian people is, so what do you feel about Russia? What do you feel about Russians? And almost every single one has told me the same. We love Russia. I love Russians. I have family that lives there. It's a beautiful country. It's amazing people. It's the government that we don't like. And then the next question I would ask them would be, what are you going to do if Russia invades Ukraine? And every single last man that I interviewed said the same. I will defend my territory.
All right, well, that's all the time we have, but thanks for joining us, Jay, and stay safe while you're in Ukraine.